The ranch
I love
had
you
learned
so
his
much.
footsteps long
I love
before
you
it learned
too.
his name, and maybe that was the way
Forever
he
with you.
preferred it. Every morning before the sun split the horizon, the lonely rancher stepped out onto the dry earth, boots sinking into dust that remembered better days, the air cold enough to sting, but clean enough to feel honest. His life was measured in small rituals: the creak of the barn door, the slow chew of cattle, the distant cry of birds that never stayed long. He had once believed silence was empty, something to escape, but years alone taught him otherwise. Silence could be full of memories, of choices not taken, of words never said. The ranch had been his inheritance and his refuge, a place where the world's noise couldn't follow him. People in the nearest town whispered about him, invented reasons for his solitude. Some said he was hiding, others said he was broken. None of them knew the truth. He stayed because the ranch didn't ask questions. One evening, as the sky burned orange and purple, something changed. A figure appeared at the edge of the dirt road, a stranger where strangers never came. The rancher watched from the porch, hand resting on the railing, heart tightening with a feeling he couldn't name. The stranger walked slowly, like someone unsure whether they were arriving or leaving. Dust clung to their clothes and exhaustion weighed down every step. When they reached the fence, they stopped, looking out over the land as if it were a memory they'd lost and just found again. The rancher should have spoken, should have asked what they wanted, but instead he listened to the wind move through the grass, to the quiet hum of a moment balancing on the edge of change. When the stranger finally turned and met his eyes, something passed between them: recognition without history, trust without reason. The stranger asked for water, their voice calm but worn thin. The rancher nodded, led them inside, and poured a glass from the old pump. As they drank, the room felt smaller, warmer, like it remembered what it was to hold more than one life at a time. They didn't share names. They didn't share stories, not yet. The stranger stayed for supper, then for the night, sleeping on the couch while the rancher lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering why the quiet felt different now, less heavy, more alive. If you've ever felt the pull of a moment you couldn't explain, this is where you lean in, because this is only the beginning. And if stories like this speak to you, don't forget to subscribe, because what follows will stay with you long after the last word. Morning came softer than usual, as if the sun itself didn't want to disturb whatever fragile thing had taken root overnight. The rancher found the stranger already awake, standing outside, watching the cattle move like slow thoughts across the field. They spoke then not of the past, but of small things: weather, land, the way loneliness changes shape over time. With every sentence, walls lowered without either of them noticing. The stranger admitted they hadn't planned to stop, hadn't planned much of anything lately. Life had narrowed into survival, into movement without direction. The rancher understood that kind of drifting better than he wanted to admit. Days passed. The stranger helped with chores, learned the rhythms of the ranch, laughed in places the rancher had forgotten laughter could live. At night they sat on the porch, the dark stretching endlessly before them, and shared pieces of themselves like offerings, never the whole truth, but enough. The rancher spoke of loss without naming it, of a love that had once promised forever and delivered absence instead. The stranger spoke of running, of fear disguised as freedom. Neither planned to stay, neither planned to ask the other to, and yet the ranch changed them. It remembered them together. When a storm came, sudden and violent, it forced them into the barn, rain hammering the roof, thunder cracking open the sky. In that raw, shaking moment, the stranger confessed the truth they'd been carrying. They were tired of leaving, tired of being alone in crowded places. The rancher felt something break open inside him, something he'd sealed away years ago. He realized the silence he'd built his life around was never meant to be permanent. It was meant to wait. When the storm passed, the world smelled new. The stranger stood at the road again, bag in hand, uncertainty written in every line of their body. This time the rancher spoke. He didn't beg. He didn't promise. He simply said, "You can stay." The stranger looked back at the ranch, at the man who had given them water, shelter, and something rarer, choice. And in that moment, neither of them knew what the future held. They only knew they didn't want to face it alone. Some connections aren't planned. Some lives only make sense when they collide. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that even the quietest lives can change in an instant, subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories like this, because the next one might find you exactly when you need it.